Liam has a deplorable and pathetic life. He hasn't been able to have quality time with his family in nearly a decade. His work environment has been heel lately, so the only thing keeping him afloat these days is the love of his wife and daughter. When Liam gets back home for the day, his wife Mika greets him and asks about their daughter Kanami. His wife explains that Kanami is already asleep, but she'd been asking for a dog all day long. It seems that after seeing a Shiba at her friend's place not long ago, she just can't stop thinking about it. Liam isn't certain they can manage the cost of a dog at the moment, but after glancing at his sleeping daughter, he thinks it could be worth it if having a dog would make Kanami happy. Even if it means putting in extra hours for a few weeks, he's willing to consider it. The following day, he brings Kanami to a pet store to get her a dog, and she looks genuinely overjoyed. Mika is honestly taken aback that Liam went along with the idea, considering it would only add more responsibility to his already full plate, but he doesn't mind. He's convinced that as long as his wife and daughter are happy, he can face whatever obstacles come his way. But as it turns out, he was completely mistaken. The following day at work, Liam's boss shouts at him for failing to submit a report on time. Liam points out that he actually sent the report on Thursday, but his boss was at a club enjoying himself that day, so he missed the message. Yet somehow, he still manages to pin the blame on Liam. Work is nothing short of a daily struggle for Liam, whether it's dealing with his careless boss or his disrespectful subordinates. They never hesitate to steal credit for his hard work, while also pointing fingers at him for mistakes he didn't even make. His professional life is pure chaos. Yet, no matter how rough the day is, coming home to his wife and daughter gives him just enough strength to push forward. However, the following day, as Liam is riding the train to work, he gets a message from his friend Nita. Nita tells him about the newly upcoming video game and asks if he can help purchase one for him. Liam can't help but laugh at how obsessed Nita is with video games, but being a good friend, he agrees to go and pick one up. He steps off the train and pulls up his GPS map to locate the store, but since he doesn't know the area well, he ends up getting lost. As he glances around, hoping to catch sight of the store, something unexpected catches his eye. His wife is on a date with some random guy. At first, Liam can't believe what he's seeing, especially because Mika told him she was taking Kanami to the sport club today, but she never did. That night, Liam arrives home after work and casually asks Mika how her day went. His wife fibs, telling him she only took Kanami to sword practice and nothing more. Liam nearly confesses that he spotted her on what looked like a date, but in the end, he plays along, acting as if everything is normal. The thought of shattering their happy family life is too much, so he begins to second guess himself. Maybe he misinterpreted what he saw. Surely, Mika would never betray him like that. Needing some time to think, Liam decides to step away for a while. He attempts to put his computer on standby, but for some reason, it won't cooperate, leaving him no choice but to shut it down completely until he returns. As he walks through the city, his feet carry him back to the same place where he'd seen his wife on a date the day before. This time, the spot is empty, and a wave of relief washes over him when he confirms she isn't there today. But that fleeting sense of relief disappears the moment he overhears Mika talking on the phone with the man he suspects is her lover. To his horror, she even brought Kanami along. Liam clings to the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, this guy is nothing more than a close friend. But then Kanami calls him dad, and in that instant, his entire world crumbles. Stunned, he returns to work, forcing himself to believe there must be some explanation. Perhaps it's just a very devoted friend who pretends to be Kanami's father when he's not around. Surely his wife wouldn't betray him like this. Right at that moment, his boss walks over and starts shouting at Liam for slacking off. So Liam tells him he's simply waiting for his computer to boot up. It's been acting up with the standby mode lately, and for security reasons, Liam has to shut it down completely whenever he takes a break, but instead of understanding, his boss yells even louder and tells him he should just stop taking breaks altogether. Right then, he receives a call from Mika, who tells him that Kanami has been in an accident. In a panic, Liam hurries straight to the hospital. When he arrives, Liam immediately asks Mika about Kanami's whereabouts. She informs him that their daughter has already been taken into the operating room. At that moment, a doctor steps out and questions whether they are Kanami's parents. After both of them confirm, the doctor explains that their daughter requires a blood transfusion so one of them will need to donate blood and asks what their blood types are. Liam states that his blood type is AB positive, while Mika confirms hers is O positive. Hearing this, the doctor immediately requests that Mika accompany him into the operating room for the transfusion. Confused, Liam questions why he can't be the donor instead. The doctor then clarifies since Kanami has type O blood, Liam's AB positive blood would be incompatible with hers. While the surgery is underway, Liam does a bit of research and finds out that it's biologically impossible for Kanami to have an O blood type if he's AB, so the only logical conclusion is that she isn't actually his daughter. Liam reaches his breaking point. He finally turns to Mika and demands the truth, is Kanami really his daughter? But instead of answering, Mika twists the situation, flipping the accusation back onto him. She claims she's the one who should be furious, insisting he never truly cared about their family in the first place. She claims he's never around, so Liam clarifies that it's due to him always having to work late. But Mika won't listen. She insists that Liam's job is pointless since he never receives raises or promotions, meaning he can't provide the life she desires. Liam is stunned by her words, but Mika keeps going, shouting that throughout their 10-year marriage, she's barely gotten to see him, forcing her to raise Kanami entirely on her own. Of course, she's choosing to overlook the fact that Kanami isn't even Liam's child. She says to Liam that he was never really part of this family and announces that she's taking Kanami and walking out. Liam questions where she thinks she's going, but Mika doesn't answer. Instead, she goes straight to Kanami's door, telling her they're leaving. Liam attempts to hold her back, but Mika jerks away, leaving him frantic. He shouts that he's always tried his hardest for Kanami and pleads with her not to abandon him. But then Kanami coldly says she prefers her other dad more, and in that moment, all hope drains from him. The following day, Liam shows up to work still heartbroken over his family's betrayal, but things take an even worse turn when his boss calls him in and accuses him of embezzling company funds. Liam insists he didn't do it, but the boss has proof 50 million yen transferred to an unknown account, and the transaction logs are all traced back to Liam's computer. With that, he's immediately fired. After Liam lost his job, Mika took it as the perfect excuse to file for divorce and even went as far as suing him for child support despite the fact that Kanami isn't even his biological daughter. To avoid going to jail over the embezzlement charges, Liam agreed to repay the 50 million yen by taking a job as a construction worker. His life feels practically finished now, and the only glimmer of happiness he still clings to comes from Nida. When Nida texts him about the newest episode of their favorite show, Liam starts typing back that he'd love to watch it together, but then he erases the message. Too ashamed to let Nida see just how broken his life really is, he tries to hold on to hope, believing that if he just keeps working hard, things will eventually get better. But then, during his lunch break, he suddenly starts coughing up blood. Later that night, he struggles to get any sleep as the bloody coughing fit only worsens, and the harsh reality hits him. He can't even afford to see a doctor. With no way to get treatment, he's left with no choice but to lie in bed and wait for the inevitable end. But just as the life starts slipping away from his body, a mysterious light appears above him and begins to show him a series of visions. In those visions, he sees the truth. It was actually his boss who embezzled the 50 million yen using Liam's computer. And to make things worse, that same boss was the one Mika had been cheating on him with all along. Everything Mika said before about feeling neglected turns out to be a complete fabrication. She had always viewed Liam as nothing more than a pathetic worm she could exploit for money. In fact, she had been involved in the entire scheme to frame him for the company's missing funds. Liam is devastated and struggles to accept that what he's seeing could actually be real. But then a mysterious man appears and confirms that it's all true. He looks Liam in the eyes and asks if he's really going to let them get away with such vile betrayal, and Liam, having finally reached his breaking point, vows to make them pay for everything they've done, even if it's the last thing he ever does. The man is clearly pleased by the raw fury now radiating from Liam, saying he's glad he decided to drop by, but he never gave his name. So Liam asks who he's supposed to be and why he's even here. The man explains that he simply took an interest in Liam because he's a genuinely good person. But Liam isn't impressed. Being a good man got him nothing in the end. If he had the chance to do it all over again, he'd live only for himself, putting his own needs above everyone else's. Hearing this, the man smiles with satisfaction and reveals the real reason he's there. He's offering Liam the chance chance to start over in another world. All Liam has to do is choose which world he wants to be reincarnated into. This could simply be a hallucination he's experiencing on his deathbed, but if he truly is being offered the chance to choose a new world, then he wants to make it worthwhile. He remembers Nita once mentioning something about another world, and there's one with robots and space battleships. If he chooses this path, he'll be stepping into a world where advanced technology and arcane magic collide, a realm ruled by the whims of kings and aristocrats. But power favors the privileged, and there's no guarantee of status. For all Liam knows, he could wake up as a lowly farmhand, shackled to the soil, while airships soar overhead and nobles dictate his fate. But because the man takes a liking to him, he tells Liam that he'll reincarnate him as the son of a count who governs an entire planet, just to make things a bit better for him. Hearing this, Liam is relieved that his next life will be an improvement over his current one. So, with his final breath, he signs the Ice-Sky contract, and his soul is transported to the new world. On planet Hydra. Today marks Liam's 5th birthday, and to celebrate, his mother has arranged a party in his honor. She also has a special gift prepared for him, so she instructs Liam to follow her, activating a floating spell beneath her feet. Liam mimics her action, and when they arrive in the next room, he discovers a massive cake alongside an enormous box. Excitedly, Liam tears open his present to find a cube inside. His mother then explains that this is the character customization tool for his very own AI maid. With this remote, he can choose any features he desires for the maid, and once selected, the design will be sent to a manufacturing company for production. Among the customizable options are the ears, the mouth, and various other body parts. Liam questions why she would give something like that to a 5-year-old, but she insists that it's very important. At that moment, his father approaches and says he also has a special present for Liam, the entire Banfield domain. Liam is stunned to hear that his father is actually willing to pass down the entire domain to someone his age. He asks if his father is truly serious about naming him the new count, and his father confirms it. However, there's just one small condition that Liam has to agree to first. Once he hands over the estate, he wants to move to the Imperial planet with his wife and enjoy a peaceful life. So he tells Liam that in order to receive the domain, he'll need to agree to provide him with a monthly allowance. Liam is so consumed by the idea of power that he fails to notice how strange it is for his father to willingly surrender everything to an actual infant. So when his father presents him with a contract to sign, Liam doesn't bother reading it. He just signs. Once the signature is complete, his father takes the contract and announces that he and his wife will now be leaving. Yet, Liam still doesn't grasp that he's probably just been tricked. Choosing to overlook the suspicious details, he instead fixates on the fact that he's now officially a count, and he fully intends to exploit that authority to ensure no one can ever take advantage of him again. None of this would have been possible without the guy's help, so he feels incredibly grateful to him. But the truth is, Liam really shouldn't have put his trust in someone who literally thrives on misery and pain. Just after Liam gets sent off to the other world, the man decides to stir up a bit more suffering before heading back to his own realm. He shifts his focus to Mika and Liam's boss, who are still hanging out and laughing together at the restaurant. Liam's boss jokes that he feels a bit guilty for completely ruining Liam's life like that. However, Mika responds that she doesn't feel sorry for him at all. In her eyes, he totally deserves to rot for throwing away 10 years of her life. Out of nowhere, a group of police officers surrounds the boss and informs him that he's under arrest. He tries to argue that there must be some kind of misunderstanding, but the officers have already reviewed the surveillance footage showing him setting Liam up for the embezzlement. With that evidence, they're ready to throw him behind bars for a long time, and with her wealthy benefactor now headed to prison, Mika won't be receiving any more financial support, leaving her completely miserable. Meanwhile, the guide is basking in the chaos and pain he's managed to create. Now, the only thing left is to transfer Liam's soul to the other world, and the guide plans to make sure Liam experiences even more suffering there than he ever did here. He's looking forward to indulging in every ounce of Liam's despair once he comes to understand just how terrible his new life will be, and since people in that world live much longer, Liam is going to be stuck enduring that misery for centuries to come. Meanwhile, in the new world, a planet is being assaulted by the ghost pirates. Just as their captain believes victory is within reach, several of his crew members suddenly explode, and in the midst of the confusion, he notices Lieb's Princess Knight hovering in in the air. As the first princess of the Holy Kingdom of Lieb, Christiana is a formidable warrior, and the moment she enters the fray, the pirates start falling rapidly. Thanks to her intervention, the Lieb army gains momentum, forcing the pirates into retreat. However, even as they flee, Christiana commands her troops to press the attack. They must teach those reckless pirates a lesson they won't forget. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Liam has just gotten his new AI made, and he's absolutely thrilled. What he didn't anticipate, though, was that she'd arrive packaged inside a doll. His butler explains that all Liam has to do is touch the package to open it. Following the instruction, Liam does just that, and the maid gracefully lands on the floor. She introduces herself as Amagi, and the butler informs Liam that, starting today, she will act as his personal assistant. He also mentions that while Amagi will require weekly maintenance, aside from that, she'll be available 24/7 to attend to Liam's every need. But Liam hasn't been paying attention for a while now, as he's completely focused on examining the assets. The butler questions what he's up to, and Liam replies that he's simply making sure the manufacturing company followed all the customization requests he made. Even so, the butler warns him that this kind of behavior isn't appropriate in front of others. In response, Liam asks Amagi to follow him to his room so he can carefully inspect every single part of her body, leaving the butler deeply concerned about Liam's purity. A few hours later, Liam is enjoying a shoulder massage from Amagi when the butler walks in and asks what exactly went on in the room. But Liam brushes it off, telling him not to worry about it. He might look like a 5-year-old, but his mind is actually 36. Even so, the butler points out that 36 is still basically a kid in this world. Liam is completely taken aback by that, so Amagi steps in to explain that the average lifespan here is around 600 years, and people aren't even considered adults until they reach about 100. Liam was completely unaware that lifespans in this place were so extended, but it fills him with joy. After all, a long life means he'll have ample time to explore countless experiences, and having Amagi beside him through it all, that just makes it even better. Liam's butler cautions him that getting too close to Amagi isn't a wise decision, since the Empire generally holds a deep hatred for AI. If people were to witness him being overly friendly with one, it could spark some troubling rumors. Liam doesn't see why anyone would hate AI, so he asks the butler to explain. The butler tells him that, a long time ago, humanity was nearly wiped out during a massive war against the AI. Humans were enslaved and brought to the brink of extinction, but in that dark era, a courageous group rose up, fought back against the AI machines, and reclaimed freedom for mankind. Those same heroes went on to establish the Empire, which explains why its noble class harbors such resentment toward AI. But if that's really the case, then why would his mother have given him an AI robot for his birthday? The butler admits he was instructed to keep it a secret, but since Liam is now the new count, he commands the butler to reveal the truth. Reluctantly, the butler discloses that Liam's parents abandoned him and fled. Liam demands to know what they were running from, and the butler clarifies they had dumped the enormous debt of the Banfield family onto Liam's shoulders so they wouldn't have to face it themselves. Liam's great-grandfather Alistair was a great man who accomplished many things and made a name for the Banfield family. But Liam's father was a straight bum, so he took over control of the Banfield family and ran everything straight into the ground. Now the Banfield family owes a ton of money and has lost the rights to all the farmable resources on their frontier planet. On top of that, their industries have dwindled, so there's almost no tax revenue coming in, and that means they'll never be able to pay back the debt. Somewhere else on planet Hydra, a few locals are gathered in a bar, chatting about how their new lord is supposedly just a 5-year-old kid. One of the men starts venting about how much he despises living here, recalling that the last time a new lord took over, they were hit with heavy taxes for no apparent reason. But for now, all they can really do is hope that things go more smoothly this time around. Meanwhile, Liam is still trying to wrap his head around the whole thing, because if the Banfield domain has been poor for so long, why would his parents suddenly decide to drop the burden on their 5-year-old son? But then he realizes that they must have given birth to him specifically because they wanted to drop their debts on him. In his previous life, Liam was mistreated, exploited, and discarded like used toilet paper, but he promises himself that he won't let the same thing happen in this world. He turns to Amagi and asks her to join forces with him to ensure his future turns out well, and Amagi is more than willing to help in any way she can. After all, Liam Liam has given her a sense of purpose. Liam feels relieved to finally have someone he can trust completely, and he's genuinely looking forward to building a future alongside Amagi. But before that, he decides to give her the 3 laws of robots that will ensure the safety of humanity. The first law is that Amagi is not allowed to cause harm to any human being. Then Liam thinks about it and realizes that he doesn't care about any other human beings, so he decides to go with a different set of laws. To start, he states that Amagi is forbidden from doing anything that could harm him. Next, she is required to follow all of Liam's commands, unless those commands would go against the first rule. And lastly, she must ensure her own protection at all times, as long as doing so doesn't conflict with either the first or second rule. With that settled, Liam informs Amagi that he intends to restore the Banfield domain to prosperity and asks if she has any suggestions on how to achieve that. Amagi quickly runs a search and soon formulates an idea, but before sharing it with Liam, she cautions him that, as an AI robot, her proposals might not align with the Empire's values. Still, she assures him that she is fully capable of providing administrative support to aid in his governance. The problem is, Liam knows next to nothing about this world, so Amagi proposes that he use an education capsule. It's a unique device capable of implanting a decade's worth of knowledge directly into his mind in just 6 months, and as an added benefit, it even enhances his physical conditioning during the process. Liam agrees it's a solid plan, but since someone needs to oversee the Banfield domain while he's inside, he grants Amagi temporary administrative control to manage affairs in his absence. Brian protests the idea, not liking the thought of Liam handing over control of the entire domain to a robot, but Liam reassures him that it's not a problem. Amagi would never do anything wrong unless he specifically told her to. Plus, there's no law that prohibits a robot from managing a domain temporarily, so he's decided to entrust everything to her for the time being. With the education capsule now ready, Liam prepares to start the procedure. But before stepping in, he has one last question for Amagi. He wonders if she's capable of feeling emotions, or at least something resembling them. Amagi admits she can't say for certain, but when Liam invited her to work alongside him, her systems registered a cache memory overflow, or, to put it more simply, it made her happy, pleased by her response. Liam reaffirms that he's entrusting everything to Amagi's care as he steps into the education capsule. After some time, the education pod finally opens and Amagi is the one to welcome him. He then asks her how much time has passed since he entered the capsule, and Amagi tells him it's been 2 years. After getting dressed, Liam listens as Amagi outlines the current economic condition of the Banfield territory, and everything appears to have gone well, prompting Liam to thank her for all the effort she's put in. Liam mentions that he wants to take a look around the territory, so Amagi chooses to show him the battleship docks first. It's actually the first time Liam has ever seen the territory with his own eyes, and he finds the battle suits particularly fascinating. Curious, he asks Amagi if he can try piloting one, and she's more than happy to set up a test for him. She explains that the armor handles basic movements automatically, so all Liam has to do is picture the action he wants to take, and the suit will carry it out. He decides to give it a try, and once the suit's systems activate, Liam finds he can move around freely in it, expressing his wish to test it in combat. Liam is surprised when Amagi tells him she can set up a mock battle for him. Shortly after, Mashida, the chief of the planet's defense force, arrives to spar with Liam. The moment the match starts, Liam rushes forward and swings at Mashida. Though Mashida blocks the strike, he plays along and acts as if he's been defeated. Mashida isn't the best actor, so Liam quickly realizes he's holding back, and he isn't happy about it. He commands Mashida to fight him for real, and as his lord's direct order, Mashida has no choice but to comply. When Liam attacks again, Mashida seizes his sword, effortlessly disarms him, and flips him onto the ground. Stunned by how easily he lost, Liam struggles to make sense of it. Amagi then clarifies that the suit's movements depend entirely on the user's mental visualization, meaning seasoned fighters like Mashida, with years of battle experience, have far superior control. Because of that embarrassing loss, Liam instructs Brian to find him a combat instructor right away. Brian attempts to persuade him that there's no real need for him to learn how to fight, but Liam is firm in his decision and refuses to accept any objections. In his previous life, he was constantly pushed down by those who held more power, so if he intends to live as an evil lord in this world, then he must become strong. strong. Sometime later, Liam meets a man named Yasushi. Liam is thrilled, thinking Yasushi looks incredibly cool, so he introduces himself and expresses his desire for Yasushi to be his instructor. Yasushi agrees to take on the role of Liam's teacher, but Amagi has her doubts and feels hiring Yasushi might not be wise, as he gives off a suspicious vibe. Liam doesn't argue that Yasushi seems suspicious, but since he carries himself like a proper samurai, Liam's willing to ignore those doubts. If Liam believes Yasushi would make a competent instructor, Amagi knows she can't oppose his decision, though she insists he should at least confirm Yasushi's abilities first. Taking her advice, Liam requests a quick demonstration. Yasushi readily agrees and guides them to a forest clearing where he's already prepared several wooden posts for training. Before starting, he informs Liam that he's about to showcase his secret technique called the Way of the Flash, and that he won't be performing it ever again. Liam is told to pay close attention. Understanding the importance, Liam asks Amagi to begin recording so he can review it later. Yasushi then gets into position, partially unsheathes his sword, and closes it again. In the very next instant, every pillar surrounding him is sliced clean in half. Liam is genuinely blown away by what he just witnessed, a human moving that quickly shouldn't even be possible, so he asks Amagi to play the recording back in slow motion to see exactly how Yasushi pulled it off. But as they review the footage, no matter how much Amagi slows it down, there's no indication that Yasushi ever actually drew his sword. Liam figures that Yasushi must have been moving so fast the cameras couldn't capture it, which only strengthens his belief that Yasushi is incredible, and he eagerly asks to become his disciple. That same night, Yasushi goes back to the clearing with the pillars, chuckling to himself that Liam actually bought the act. The whole spectacle was just a cheap trick. He'd pre-cut the pillars so they'd collapse on cue. Now, thanks to that little stunt, he's secured himself an easy paycheck from Liam without having to lift another finger. At the same time, the princess is en route to meet with the Go's pirates to negotiate a potential peace agreement. While Go's had been the one to suggest a truce the moment she arrives, he sneers that she was foolish to come alone. Christiana fires back, making it clear she didn't arrive without precautions if Go's makes even a single hostile move. The entire Alliance fleet standing by will reduce his ship to cosmic debris. This was meant to be a show of strength, but Go's isn't intimidated, since he knows the Alliance is actually backing him. Right at that moment, Christiana gets a report saying that pirates have surrounded her home planet, and she's completely baffled by this. There's no way the pirates should have been able to breach her planet's defense line. That's when Go's reveals that the alliance she built isn't exactly flawless, and that some of its members were more than willing to betray her once he made them an offer. At that moment, Christiana's crew alerts her that every ship in the alliance has aimed its cannons at theirs. She's in shock, unable to believe that Go's truly succeeded in turning her own forces against her. But now, with no other option, she's forced to hear out Go's demands. Meanwhile, back on Liam's world, he's been training under Yasushi and is completely worn out. No matter how much effort he puts in, he still can't manage to use the Way of the Flash. He turns to Amagi and asks if there's any way he could learn the technique, but since she's a maid, she doesn't really have much knowledge about it. For the past 3 years, Yasushi has only had Liam practicing the fundamentals of swordsmanship, but Liam is starting to grow tired of the repetition. On the bright side, since Liam has mastered all the basics, Amagi says his fighting ability is a lot better than it was before. But Liam doesn't care about that. What he wants is a flashy move that'll look cool when he does it. That night, Yasushi is in his room, reading manga like he always does, still amazed that he managed to land such an incredible job. While Yasushi is indeed a scammer, he does have some knowledge of sword fighting, so for the past 3 years, all he's really done is show Liam some basic techniques, and he's been earning a ridiculous amount of money for it. He's hoping this easy gig never ends, but just then, Liam walks in and asks Yasushi to teach him the Way of the Flash. Yasushi immediately says he is quitting. He makes up an excuse and reminds Liam that he said he would only demonstrate the Way of the Flash technique once, so if he is dissatisfied with that, then there's no point in Yasushi remaining here as his teacher. Liam immediately lowers his head and starts begging Yasushi for forgiveness for being so insolent, and Yasushi says he will forgive him this time, but he had better not make the same mistake again. As soon as Liam steps out of the room, Yasushi lets out a sigh of relief, having feared that Liam might have discovered he's a total fraud. There's absolutely no way he can teach Liam the way of the Flash when he himself doesn't even know how it works. Just then, Liam reappears, and Yosushi panics for a second, thinking he might have overheard him, but Liam simply came back to say he has something to take care of tomorrow, and won't be able to train. Meanwhile, Christiana has been captured by the Go's pirates, and is now being held in Captain Go's quarters. She demands to know what he intends to do with her, and Go's casually explains that he simply wanted to give her the best view in the house. At first, Christiana doesn't grasp his meaning, until Go's commands his entire fleet to aim their weapons directly at her home planet. The horrifying realization hits her, and she pleads desperately with Go's to call off the attack, but it's no use. With a cold command, he signals his crew to fire, and Christiana can do nothing but watch in horror as her planet is obliterated before her eyes. Back on Liam's planet, he is still frustrated that he hasn't been able to learn the way of the Flash yet, but he still needs to attend to his duties as a lord, so he asks Amagi to give him the monthly report. Amagi shows him some graphs detailing the current economic state of the planet, and while the massive debt remains unchanged, the production sectors have been seeing steady growth. Liam is pleased he put Amagi in charge of governance, as she's clearly handling things well, but Amagi points out that the growth rate is actually much slower than she had anticipated. They've poured substantial resources into initiatives like the welfare program, yet the returns they're seeing fall far short of what they should be, given both the budget and the time that's passed. Liam asks to see the financial reports for the welfare program, and all his years of accounting finally pay off because he can immediately see the problem. He tells Amagi to summon the man in charge of the welfare program, and a few minutes later this man shows up. Liam wastes no time and tells the man that if he has an excuse, he had better say it now. The noble attempts to play dumb, but Liam is well aware that he's been skimming money from the welfare program. He thought he could hide it with some crafty invoice adjustments, but Liam has spent enough time reviewing financial records to instantly sense something isn't right. And to make matters worse, the noble changed suppliers for the project, so Liam presses him for an explanation as to why. The noble tries to claim that the other vendor is better, but if that were the case, then the welfare program would be doing a lot better than this. It is obvious that the noble is as corrupt as can be, but Liam honestly isn't even that mad. After all, he came to this world because he wanted to become an evil lord, so he needs to learn to take advantage of his position like this too. Just then, Amagi lets Liam know that an embezzlement case had been opened against the noble, and Liam is surprised to hear that the noble was caught yet somehow still kept his position. But the noble explains that the investigation was closed after it was found that the real culprit was actually one of his subordinates. Liam asks Amagi if that is true, and she confirms it, but no real evidence was ever presented to support the claim that the subordinate was to blame, and the noble had the man executed. Amagi knows this pattern all too well, so he accuses the noble of framing his subordinate and having him killed. The noble desperately tries to deny everything, but Liam can tell that every word he's saying is a lie. Without a word, Liam picks up his sword and begins slowly walking toward him. At that moment, the noble realizes that Liam isn't going to fall for any of it, so he switches tactics and starts pleading his case, claiming that all the other nobles are doing the same thing. So, in his mind, it's completely normal to destroy people's lives for his own benefit. Upon hearing those words, Liam unsheathes his sword and prepares to execute the noble, but Amagi quickly intervenes, urging him to stop. The noble then begins shouting, claiming Liam is too young to grasp that this is simply how the world operates. But before he can get another word out, Liam slices off his head. Still burning with rage, Liam commands Amagi to investigate every noble on the planet and execute all who are corrupt right now. But she insists he needs to take a break first. This marks the first time Liam has ever taken a life, and he's so overwhelmed with nerves that he can't even let go of his sword. Amagi gently helps him unclench his hand. Regarding his earlier order, she explains that executing all the corrupt nobles would lead to serious issues, since nearly every noble is corrupt. Killing them all would leave the planet without anyone to handle its administration. As a compromise, she suggests that he prepare a selection of dolls to take over the planet's administrative roles, and since Liam trusts her judgment, he agrees. Some time passes, and Liam returns to the loading bay. Having now mastered the fundamentals of swordplay, he feels ready to train again in a battle suit. But just as he's about to step into one, Yasushi appears and warns him that relying on standard automated suits will forever prevent him from becoming a truly exceptional warrior. So Liam turns to Mashita and asks if there might be an alternative suit available. Mashita tells him that there is one, but it's entirely manual and almost no one has ever been able to operate it. The reason Yasushi originally came up with this idea was because Liam was actually turning into a skilled swordsman, and if Liam ever mastered swordsmanship, Yasushi would lose his job as a fraud. While he was rummaging through the storage, looking for things to steal, he happened to find an old mech. That's when he decided to trick Liam into using it, knowing full well that a kid like him would never be able to master it. And sure enough, his plan worked perfectly. Now Liam is completely dedicated to training with the mech. In theory, since the mech operates entirely manually, mastering its proper use could give Liam an advantage over every automatic mech user in the galaxy. So training with it might really boost his strength. But first, he needs to find someone who can repair it. Brian is happy that Liam is so dedicated to his mech training, but he doesn't get why Liam insists on starting with a manual model that's so difficult to handle. And he's even more puzzled by the fact that Liam has spent the last few days relentlessly slashing at that post. Brian asks Liam what he's doing. So Liam explains that he's simply trying to recreate the secret technique Yasushi demonstrated to him. No matter how much time it takes, he's determined to keep practicing until he's mastered it completely. Brian is skeptical that the technique truly exists, but he knows there's no chance he can persuade Liam that Yasushi is deceiving him, so he simply allows him to pursue his desires. That same day, Amagi makes her way to the loading bay to carry out Liam's request. She personally suspects Yasushi is nothing but a fraud, but as Liam is determined to use this mech, she's committed to doing her utmost to facilitate it. However, she lacks the expertise to handle the maintenance herself, so they require a specialist to manage it. The following day, Liam and Amagi head to the port to meet Niaz, and the moment Niaz notices Amagi, she starts acting strangely. Liam figures someone from the Empire would be repulsed by the sight of an android, but surprisingly, Niaz appears genuinely thrilled. She has an unusual fixation on androids, and recognizing that Amagi is an extremely advanced model, she's eager to examine every detail for research. Liam did the very same thing when he first encountered Amagi, but seeing someone else do it is just awkward, so he tells Niaz to cut it out. Later, he takes her to the hangar where the manual mech is stored and asks if she can fix it, but Niaz says it's practically finished. She suggests he'd be better off just buying one of the newer models, but Liam refuses. He's set on using this specific mech. Niaz warns him that replacement parts for this outdated model aren't made anymore, so restoring it won't be cheap. Still, Liam doesn't flinch. He's ready to pay whatever it costs to get the machine operational again, and for Niaz, those words are like music to her ears. Now she can charge him an absolute fortune for the repairs, and he won't even complain. But there's another matter. Liam mentions he wants the mech to have a finisher. Niaz is unclear on what a finisher is meant to be, so Liam clarifies that it's a stylish move he can use to obliterate his foes, like a rocket punch. At that moment, Yasushi happens to walk into the bay, and the instant he lays eyes on Niaz, he's instantly smitten. After composing himself, he attempts to act calm and approach her right away, but she pays him no mind, far more interested in explaining why a rocket punch is a foolish concept. Niaz argues the thrusters would occupy far too much space, and deliberately sacrificing your hand mid-battle is a dreadful idea, but Liam still finds it awesome, so he instructs Niaz to spare no expense in equipping the mech with a rocket punch. The two ultimately reach an agreement, but Yasushi is stunned that Niaz seems to prefer Liam over him. It could be because Liam is genuinely attractive, while Yasushi is an old musty samurai, so he channels his frustration by subjecting Liam to grueling, near impossible training. Yasushi forces Liam to balance on a log in the middle of a lake, blindfolded, while shooting him with tennis balls. He rambles some nonsense about this exercise unlocking Liam's mind's eye to sense incoming attacks without seeing them, but it's complete garbage. Meanwhile, after Goz took over Christiana's ship, she and her entire crew have been captured. Goz isn't just holding them prisoner, he's thoroughly enjoying taunting her. Christiana demands to know what Goz plans to do with her, and he casually explains he's taking her to his treasure planet to be added to his collection. At first, she assumes he's referring to some kind of twisted pleasure vault, but the truth turns out far more disturbing. Goz forces forcibly escorts her to his lab, where Christiana is confronted with a grotesque sight. That malformed mass of flesh was once one of her own crew members. After Goes delivered the woman to his scientist, she's been reshaped into something ripped straight from a nightmare. Goes informs the scientist that Christiana will become his new pet, and he has many ideas he's eager to test on her first. He intends to carve out one of her eyes and implanted it in his hand, so Christiana can witness her body being disfigured beyond recognition, just like his other pets. While Christiana endures the most painful ordeal of her life, things on Liam's planet are proceeding quite smoothly. Under Liam's leadership, the economy has significantly improved, leaving the locals overjoyed. They hadn't anticipated such success, and they're eager to see what Liam will do next to enhance the planet. Unbeknownst to them, Liam has just spent a substantial portion of the planet budget on his mech. Niaz has finally finished restoring it to its former glory, and she's incredibly proud of the results. Because of that, she offers to demonstrate to Liam how the controls function. Inside the mech, the control room was enlarged to ensure greater comfort, and once Liam is securely strapped in, Niaz fires up the engine. As the mech powers on, it instantly scans Liam, registering him as the new pilot, locking out anyone else from using it. Liam is thrilled to finally test it out, but the moment he takes hold of the controls, the mech collapses. Niaz points out that this mech lacks any auto balance functions, meaning Liam must manually steady it with every step. Typically, this would be a difficult challenge, but Liam has been preparing for this, so he regains command of the mech and cautiously brings it back upright. He then gradually starts moving out of the hangar, and Niaz is amazed by how skillfully he handles it, especially since this is his first time operating it. While he's walking, she tells Liam that his imagination is incredibly crucial for this mech's operation. The more vivid the mental image, the sharper the mech's movements will become. Liam tries to focus his imagination to make the mech do something cool, but then his eyes wander over to Niaz's chest, and it all went downhill from there. Liam is now vividly picturing what it would be like to touch Niaz in every possible way, and the mech is acting out those movements right in front of everyone. Nobody realizes that the mech is simply reacting to Liam's imagination, so they're all completely convinced that he's having inappropriate thoughts about Niaz at this very moment. Yasushi is fuming at the idea that Liam just stole his woman right from under him, but Brian, on the other hand, is actually relieved. At least this time, it's a human involved. Meanwhile, Liam is trying to come up with an explanation to stop Niaz from thinking he's a pervert, but the mech already started doing pelvic thrusts, and there's no coming back from that. As revenge, Yasushi ends up hitting Liam with tennis balls out of jealousy again, but after that Liam goes back to his regular training. He's outside practicing the way of the flash technique, but no matter how much he swings his sword, he can't cut the post from a distance. He's beginning to fear that he lacks any skill for swordsmanship like this, but Amagi approaches and reassures him that's not true. She explains that the issue lies with Yasushi's teachings and the excessive trust Liam places in him. However, when Amagi brings up Liam's faith in Yasushi, he interprets it as her saying he doesn't trust his teacher enough, convinced that Yasushi could never deceive him. Liam concludes he must be misunderstanding Yasushi's lessons in some way. Just then, he remembers that magic exists in this world, so even though slicing a post without touching it seems physically impossible, it should be possible with the aid of magic. Liam has just made a major breakthrough in his training, so for the next couple of months, he diligently practices slashing with his magic until one day he calls Yasushi to show him what he has accomplished. Liam informs Yasushi that he has at last perfected the way of the flash, but Yasushi, doubting this is possible, he anticipates another failure. Yet, as Liam draws his sword, he unleashes a large wave of magic, cutting the post in two from that distance. Amazed by the sight, Yasushi struggles to maintain his facade as a master and tells Liam he performed admirably but still has much to learn before truly mastering the technique. Yasushi then leaves, and he is really starting to panic because Liam is a monster when it comes to training. Yasushi has been lying to him about the way of the flash for years, but Liam was still somehow able to make it happen. Some time passes and Liam is informed that one of his resource planets is under attack from pirates. It's the only one that wasn't impounded for the mortgage on the Banfield debt, and the only reason the Empire didn't seize it is because its environment is poor and mining on the planet is difficult, so they didn't think it was worth much. However, Amagi managed to establish several plants on the planet to provide additional revenue for Liam, but those plants are currently under attack attack by pirates, and although the Banfield forces stationed there are resisting, their defeat seems inevitable. When Liam inquires if Amagi has an attack strategy prepared, she proposes that they engage the pirates in combat, approaching from the planet's blind spot to launch a surprise assault. Liam likes the sound of that, so he orders all of his troops to get ready to hold off the pirate forces in orbit, while Liam is going to personally defend the planet. Brian tries to object since it's dangerous for the Lord to go fight pirates in person, but Liam refuses to let anyone steal from him again. Plus, he really wants to show off the new skills he learned. Liam and his fleet quickly reach the planet, prompting Amagi to ready the rail cannon and load Liam's mech inside. As soon as the cannon is fully charged and set for launch, Amagi locks onto Liam and sends him directly toward the planet's surface. Meanwhile, the pirates are busy finishing off the remaining defense forces when one of them is blasted from the sky. The pirates spin around to identify their attacker, and moments later, Liam swoops down, slicing one of them in two. The remaining units attempt to disperse and conceal themselves to surround Liam, but as two try to sneak up from behind, Liam senses their approach and slices them apart in an instant. He couldn't actually see them coming. The countless tennis balls Yasushi launched at him had taught him to anticipate unseen attacks. At that moment, a band of pirates begins shooting lasers at him, prompting Liam to respond by sheathing his sword and summoning a rifle beam. He starts firing at the pirates relentlessly, left and right, so they attempt to overpower him by charging all at once. Yet, in doing so, they align themselves perfectly for Liam's hidden technique. Liam unsheathes his sword, and with a burst of mana, a massive portion of the pirate forces is obliterated. The pirates are stunned that Liam can cut them down from afar, and if he's capable of that, they have no desire to keep fighting. Those still standing immediately turn and flee. Liam feels disappointed. He was hoping to demonstrate more of his swordsmanship, but he has no intention of letting them get away. With that in mind, he gets ready to unleash his secret weapon. Liam shouts rocket punch and aims his arm at the escaping pirates. But rather than a standard rocket punch, he summons a huge missile and launches it toward them. None of the pirates will survive such an attack, but Liam is frustrated because this wasn't what he had in mind when he instructed Nias to install a rocket punch. At that moment, Liam receives a transmission from Amagi, who apologizes for failing to eliminate the entire pirate fleet. Around 60% of the pirates managed to slip away, but Amagi successfully destroyed roughly 30% of their forces, while the remaining ships were captured and repurposed for Liam's army. Wiping out the pirates completely would have been ideal, but Liam is still pleased with the outcome. He expresses his gratitude to Amagi, assuring her that she performed excellently. Watch this next video on screen and subscribe to not miss next part.